Welcome to the Stuff and Things Podcast, your home for all stuff related to your favorite things in entertainment. Now, here are your hosts.
It's the ominous music of the Acolyte, all from Star Wars and Disney+. I am Sam, this is the Stuff and Things Podcast. Joining me to discuss the latest episode, it's Stefan.
Hello there.
Hello, mate. You alright?
I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm okay. The sun is shining today. It's a typical British summer, where it's kind of like, oh, it's lovely and warm. Lovely breeze as well. Oh, lovely day. Oh, it's raining now. Okay, right. At least that's how it appears to be going here. How are things up north for you? Up north.
Up north.
Yeah.
Up north. Yeah, it's lovely, bright, sunny day. But I am looking out the window and I'm like, those clouds look quite grey.
Yes, there you go. There.
However, I do know that window has got that weird mirrored film on it, so it could be lovely outside.
Oh.
It's just the filming.
No, this is a funny thing, right? So, and I think this is funny, and for people listening, you just have to deal with it for a minute. That film stuff. So basically, I've got a my back garden is like an absolute sun trap. From the afternoon, the people who built this house did a marvelous job. Like the sun hits it, and it's hot, it's lovely, but it hits the back window to this kitchen, which is right by the sink. So if you're stood there like doing the washing up or doing something, it cooked you. Like literally, you'd be stood there and you'd be like doing the washing up, like sweat dripping off you. It was insane.
Yep.
We put a like one of those like kids temperature gauges there at one point. It was like over 40 degrees centigrade. It was
straight through
nuts.
the window heating you. Yeah.
So finally found this like film stuff, and it was like, oh, you put this on the window and it'd stop all that. I'm like, yeah, whatever, but I'll give it a go. All right, fine. It's magic. It really does. Like now you can stand there like the sun beaming on it and you're fine. But every now and again, I forget it's on the window, and I'm like looking out into the back garden through this window. Go, God, it's dark and dreary. Isn't it funny? Like the front of the house is all light and the back's all dark. Like, oh yeah, you muppet.
We've got that on our car, so where the kids sit in the back, they've got like the tinted windows.
Nice.
And the amount of times the kids are like, oh, why is it never sunny? And I might look out the front window, kids. Just look out the front window.
Yeah, well,
I'm wearing sunglasses for a reason, kids. It's not that bad. Yeah.
And that reason is because I look cool as anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, this is a podcast talking about a Star Wars show called The Acolyte, I promise. It's not just weather reports and tinted windows. One thing I'm going to do is a little bit of admin just to kick us off, and that little bit of admin is to talk about the sound quality on the podcast currently. So, some months ago, basically we've had a lot of messages in, and no one really bitching about it, so I appreciate that, but people kind of pointing stuff out. Some months ago, telling a story, my partner in crime here took the move up north, and he left behind a lovely little home studio setup, and is currently renovating his own home, and therefore finding a location to re-establish said studio has not been the priority above his kids yet. I mean, we've argued about this. I've said it should have been. He says, no, my children come first. We're not going to have this conversation on the podcast. I mean, he's selfish, all right? But we're not going to bring that up again. But in essence, the way we're doing it at the moment is I'm recording the desk audio. He's on a phone, as everyone's picked up on, and they keep telling me. We are editing it the best we possibly can, but sometimes there are going to be a little bit of sort of staticky bits, and it is obviously it's a phone. That will change. That's not going to be it forever. That's just going to be it until such time as things are set back up that way.
Hopefully not long now. Hopefully not long.
Yeah, but like I said, no one's really sent in a kind of, oh my god, your audio is so bad, I'm never listening again, which I appreciate. But a few people have pointed out. So, like I said, I just wanted to do
do a test record myself in our new work office.
Yeah.
I took the microphone in and did a test record, and holy crap, is it echoey in there? Like, I think it actually sounds worse. I was like, oh no!
Yeah, no, it can happen like that. Yeah, I'm recording in a room. So sorry. The other reason why I thought I'd bring that up today is I record in a room in my house, which is adjacent to a house which has started construction on it. Yay! I'm hoping to get this recorded before they get into the severe noise, but if you get any building noise in the background, I do apologise. I will try and minimise it. However, there's only so much I can do. Yeah. So, with all that being said, thank you so much for sticking with us. We really appreciate it. If there are ever things that you pick up on and you're like, oh, that didn't sound good or whatever, then do say. I don't take it like personally. I do try and keep the audio as best I possibly can. But, sometimes stuff slips through.
And listen to how Sam is on the podcast. If he doesn't sound like he's in a great mood, just keep it to yourself that week. Mention it next week. It's fine.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, I'm up for that. Yeah.
If he's happy and joking, tell him the sound quality shit. If he's not feeling very great, just wait till next week.
Yeah, wait,
it's
give
fine.
it a week. Otherwise, the following week you'll have me with like some sort of echo effect on everything as I say. Reverb, baby. Okay. This is The Acolyte. This is episode 6 of a potential season 1, probably one and done based on what I'm reading. And the title of the episode was...
Teach/corrupt. This really annoyed me.
I know. Do you know what?
Just
do you want
saying
to know my very first note?
Yep.
Title's going to annoy him.
Yep.
No.
Why have... If you're going to have word/word, have it the whole way through. Don't just have random... Destiny, day, night, back to what you said with the beginning. No.
Calm down.
Okay.
Now, in each of these episodes with these slashes in, apparently we're looking at it from the point of view of the sisters, the twins. So is it being taught, is this one being corrupted and stuff like that? And the idea is like, could it be this, could it be that? Now, there was a double episode, or there were 2 episodes in sequence. One was called Day and one was called Night. Now, in theory, if you watch that as one whole episode, it was like day/night. So, it does still kind of work, but I knew it was going to annoy you.
But we had the episode before that was just called Destiny, wasn't it? That was on its own.
Oh, was it? Oh, in that case.
I'm sure we've had 3 and 3 now.
In that case, screw those guys. What are they doing?
Yeah.
Of all the critique that's been thrown at this show, I think that's a new one. I've not seen anyone else get mad about that yet. So you should have some sort of rage.
I'm mad. Yep.
Speaking of rage and speaking of silly things to be annoyed about, there was something at the start of this episode that really bugged me, and it's so stupid because like there are sometimes there's things that like bug you and you're like, oh yeah, that's annoying, and you just kind of brush it off. And then there's some things that bug you, and then you're kind of taken right out, and you're just kind of like, ugh. So I ended up having to watch this episode twice, with a kind of ignore that. Otherwise I'm never going to be able to sort of sort it out. And it's a really dumb thing. Like, my note here just says a really odd editing choice. So I'm going to tell you what it is, and you tell me if you even noticed this. So at the very start of the episode, we see Osha waking up with the stranger, for want of a better name.
Yes.
And they're on another planet, an unknown planet.
Yeah, they even call it unknown. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Yep.
So the last time we saw them, he was putting a little blanket over her in the forest of that planet where they were before, which was what was it called? Kafar? Yeah, Kafar. All right.
Yeah.
The next part is we see Sol, and who we know to be May, leaving that planet on their ship, which in the previous episode we saw them get on board.
Yes.
So can the Sith teleport now?
Yeah, there does seem to be a weird time difference between those 2 scenes being shot. He's managed to leave the forest, get on his spaceship, fly to an unknown planet, and also, can we also point out, we'll talk about it later, but Sol is just a bit of a crap Jedi, so it's possible he just took his time.
No. We're going to circle back. I'm not having that about Sol. We'll argue that later on. But this, it's such a stupid thing, because I looked at it and I wrote down, a very odd edit choice, because it's like those two scenes reversed, and it's fine. Like, those two scenes reversed, and there's no issue. Like, you start the episode literally where the last one ended, like Sol and her taking off or whatever, or just take that away. But to start it, like, with them they're on this unknown planet, and then we're going to go back to them leave. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's like a backwards time jump almost. Or,
it's out of sequence.
Yeah, how did they get there? Yeah, they've managed to get all the way to this other planet at the time it takes Sol to start the engine. It's like, this is strange.
And the Sith don't teleport because he's got a ship. It's right there. He even says to her, if you want to swim to the ship, it's right there. There's the ship.
Start swimming now if you want to get to the ship by sundown.
Yeah.
And then it kind of pans out and you're like, well, why would she swim? She'd surely just walk over that little bit there between the big rocks.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, I just kind of like straight away that bugged me, and then I couldn't say, did you notice, or was this just me?
No, I did notice the fact that I did think when I watched it, I was like, it's taken them a long time to get off the planet. That was kind of my thought, was like, this is strange. They've got to another planet, they haven't even left.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not even like, if they had been like, they haven't left because they were getting all the bodies together of the Jedi, or there's no explanation for it at all, because they've left all the bodies exactly where they were.
Yeah.
He hasn't even brought his Padawans back with him.
No.
He has literally left everyone where he was. I'm like, why? What?
Yeah, and then they get up in the space, and the ship is malfunctioning. Now, if that had happened on the surface, then that would have made sense again, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Like, they were trying to take off, they couldn't, they were trying to fix things, and in that time, the Sith has got to his ship, carrying Osha. Because that's the thing, like, he's not just, like, waltzing off himself, running through the forest, he's carrying dead weight, someone who's knocked out, to his ship, which we know has to be a distance, because of the way everyone's talking about the forest, like, oh, you got to go in on foot, it's all this way. So we know he's got to cart a significant distance, whether he's found a clearing nearer or whatever. And then that's
a fair point, because that's a big ass forest. Like, all the scenes you see from outside the forest, it's a big old forest.
Yeah. No.
They were talking about how they landed in the day and they had to walk fast to try and get there before sundown and stuff. So it's a decent old distance.
And it's such a silly thing, I know, to be kind of irked by, but it was like, I think.
I know what you mean, though. Yeah.
I think the reason why it irks me is because I'm fairly positive about the show. Like, I'm really enjoying it, like, genuinely. And it's not like Disney pay us because they don't, or Lucasfilm like us because they don't. I genuinely am enjoying it. I know that a lot of people aren't, and that's fine. Crack on. But there are a couple of things I've pointed out that have kind of irked me. But but then there's a lot of stuff in all the things I watch that's been like, oh, that's annoying. Why did they do that? I mean, I watched The Walking Dead for 11 seasons, and for 3 of those seasons, I felt like hitting my head for a wall. Like that,
I'm sure that show they put things in deliberately just to make sure people were paying attention.
Well, I'm fairly confident, but there was a point where there were so many editing mistakes and so many kind of continuity errors, and so it was just like, oh, you're killing me. It was almost like they got fed up of podcasters nitpicking, so they went, right, we're just going to put so many in, like all their show's going to be is like, oh my god, there's too much to point out. But yeah, it became hard to watch that show, but I managed, I made it through.
We kept going.
It's nothing like that. Like I've not felt that at all. I've been interested from the start, like kind of curious. Then it's been
I'm enjoying the fact that we are part of the minority that are actually enjoying this show.
Yeah. No, it seems to be the minority. Do you feel like this is a case of the vocal is a majority, or they're just louder?
I think it's the loudness thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I used to work as assistant manager in a pub.
Yes.
And on the door, leaning out from the staff room, there was a quote, like vinyl stuck on the door. And it was, remember, good service, they'll tell 3 friends. Bad service, they'll tell Facebook.
Oh, yes.
And I think that's very much like, if you're enjoying this show, you're probably telling a couple of mates, "Oh, I was watching that Star Wars show. Yeah, it's really quite good, actually."
Yeah.
If you don't enjoy the show, then you are straight on social media. "Oh, this is crap."
There's also an element of confirmation bias, I think, which is like you see the premise and you think, "Oh, I don't think that's for me," and then you see a review and you go, "Oh God, I'm glad I didn't watch that." You know what I mean? It's and I get that. Like, that's fine. It's no problem. But I do see some of the there's a creator on TikTok who's got a theory. A couple of episodes ago, he had a theory about who was wearing the mask, and he was wrong, by the way. Haha. But anyway, he had a theory, and in the comments were like, that could just be bad writing. And he replied to this comment, and he said, that criticism's getting worse with every episode, because everything people's pointing out, like, oh, this is bad writing. If you keep watching, it's kind of bringing it in. It's kind of making sense. And one of the massive things, which I think by the end of this series, if they do leave it in the air, then I'm gonna have to say, yeah, okay, that isn't great. But one of the major things before the show even started was, oh, this Jedi said in the Phantom Menace, oh, the Sith have been extinct for 1,000 years. How is this happening? Blah 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 blah. Well, I think this particular series is showing us that it's showing us something interesting. It's an I don't know why people. The other thing as well. Sorry, and I'm on a bit of a tangent now. Something I saw over and over again after last week's episode, which I really enjoyed, was, oh my God, how ridiculous is this show that one Sith was able to cut down that many Jedi. Now,
yeah, and then we discussed it. He wasn't following the rules of combat.
Yeah,
the Jedi were completely unprepared for it.
Yeah, and like this is like this really interesting thing to me. Like, so in Revenge of the Sith, there is a scene where some of the greatest Jedi to ever walk the galaxy, like I think 5 of them or 4 of them, walk in on Emperor Palpatine or Senator, Chancellor at that point, to arrest him. And he cuts through them. Remember? He just rips through 3 of them like nobody's business.
Yeah, pretty easy. Yeah. And then you're kind of looking at it and go, this has happened before. Like, the best Jedi can get taken out with ease, especially you're kind of against this sort of power. I think it's like they said about the anger, isn't it? They have a different source. Yeah.
Qui-Gon probably, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan, one of the greatest Jedi of all time. Qui-Gon probably, definitely one of the most powerful because of the way he used the Force. Qui-Gon literally, like in all the legend, all the books and everything, Qui-Gon's literally the only Jedi Palpatine was nervous about. And him being killed allowed him to then progress his plans.
Yeah. And he got killed really quite easy.
Yeah. He got taken out by... Because it was it was a new threat. It was a kind of Force, someone using the Force completely differently. It was, there's a lot to it. So I don't quite understand that. And even in the episode, it almost felt like the writers were like, "Oh, I know we're going to get this criticism, so let's make sure we make it abundantly clear." Like Yord says, he's got like Yord's terrified. Like his face, like he doesn't obey the rules of combat. He's doing this, he's doing that. And it was perfect to me. Like that summed it up brilliantly. Like the Jedi just didn't understand. They were confused and freaked out.
Yeah, like to break it down to the most basic kind of way of thinking, the Jedi are taught to fight almost on a turn-based strategy.
Yeah, a little bit.
I have a turn, you have a turn. I have a turn, you have a turn. Yeah. They're now fighting someone that's like, I have a turn. You had 3 turns. What?
Yeah.
No. This isn't how it works.
Yeah,
it throws them off completely.
And also, none of them really would have fought saber to saber other than sparring. And of course, sparring is quite definitively paddy thrust, good. None of that. They're not literally trying to rip each other's head off. Also, the guy's using a metal helmet, which we know is confirmed in this, is cortosis, which I loved. A little bit of Star Wars lore.
That made me happy that he actually kind of talk about. Well, I'm sure we'll come back to that character.
Yeah, and shorted out the lightsabers, etc. They just weren't prepared. The other thing I saw a lot is, these are the Jedi of the High Republic. These would have been at their best. I'm sorry. These Jedi, at this particular moment, there are loads of them everywhere. And they're a police force.
Yes.
None of them are prepared for this. None of them are in a kind of fighting position. The idea, they are so far kind of...
It's like a traffic cop going into a bank heist. Like, this is so above their pay grade.
Yeah. And that's completely how I see it. That this is quite like, you think about the interactions. That guy shows up. Stop. Identify yourself. It is literally that guy.
Put the weapon on the ground and put your hands in the air.
I mean, it's literally what's going on in that scene. We are the Jedi. No one steps to us. Like, I'm on my own and I'm a Jedi. No one's going to mess with me. There's like 7 of us here. No one's going to mess with us. Now, you fast forward to, like, let's say the Clone Wars era and the Jedi in that. They're fighting a war. They turn around and there's, part of a separatist movement behind them. They're not going, put your hands up, surrender, whatever. Sabers out, here we go.
Yeah, they were soldiers by that point.
Yeah. So, I feel like a lot of the criticism like that is just like, you're not thinking this through. You're not thinking through the position of the time, of the timeline. They are so kind of, we're the best. Oh, one of us died. That's
it's
very
like a
rare.
pure naivety, isn't it? Like, they're never. A lot of these Jedi are quite young.
Yeah.
And they would never have known a threat. Like,
no.
We see literally episode 1. We see like these 2 main characters, and they turn up for questioning.
Yeah.
Like, where were you on the night of this? And, we're going to have to take you in for more questioning. And it is quite literal, a police force
Stick the handcuffs on.
And they've never come up against a threat like this.
No.
So it is so realistic in the quotations of Star Wars, that they would go into a forest and all of a sudden they're like, oh, wait a minute. Other dude has one of these things. What's going on?
And get their ass kicked.
Get their asses kicked,
I mean, and it's like he said, like, he has no... He fights without rules. Like, he's got a Jedi's weapon, but he fights like, what the hell? I mean, when he killed Yord, like that moment where he literally grabbed him, snapped his neck in that moment, that to me was like just awesome. Like, that was such a powerful moment of...
That was such a scene, wasn't it? Yeah.
Don't mess with this guy. Like, that is so incredible. I mean, also, it was a kind of, don't you ever mix up Anakin and Luke Skywalker again. He got... he got dealt with. But that was so good. Like, that was such a... Because he had his eyes locked on Sol in that moment, like, to kind of, like, bring it on. And when he killed Sol's Padawan as well, who Daphne Keene I loved the bits, and that was such a... She was so good in that role and was killed. And then he was like, he shouted her name and he was like, is that what it was called? It's like, oh. But then the other line to it, which I loved, which is like, look, she was a child. You brought her. It's like, yeah, if she's a child, she shouldn't have been here, should she? She shouldn't have been attacking me.
Why did you bring her along? Yeah.
It's just such a... I love things that challenge your perspective on stuff. And this episode now, in episode 6, continues that with the stranger who is talking to Osha. He's cleaned her wounds, looked after her, she's now awake. I love the fact he's just going about his life, by the way. He's just like, yeah, she's going to wake up, I don't care. Like, I'm fine, I'm safe. Yeah. And like, he's out having a bath in the water. She finds his lightsaber, and like, he obviously knows, he can sense her, and he's like, feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah. It was a bit of a weird scene, this one. Like, he's basically just stripped off and she's just watching him.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a bit weird.
Wow.
But okay.
Mate, come on.
Very Game of Thrones.
Who hasn't walked down to the lake and watched someone strip naked and watched them for a few hours? I mean, come on. I mean, come on. That's not a thing.
I mean, no more than 20 minutes. I don't know about hours, but yeah.
Okay. Good. Oh God, I was worried then. I thought maybe I was weird.
Just on your own. No. It's the fact, what I liked is like, so yeah, you say like, he's like, he senses her straight away.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah, feels good, doesn't it? She's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like, you're facing the other way. How do you know I'm here?
Yeah.
And I love the fact he's like, there was a line in this, and it's a line that for me felt a bit out of place in Star Wars.
Okay.
Which was just, well, if you're not joining me, I'm going to get my clothes.
Yeah.
And I was a bit like, that's just that does not feel like a Star Wars line.
No, that was good. Come on.
That felt very Game of Thrones to me.
That's very Star Wars. It's just Han Solo.
Actually, if Han Solo had said that, it would have been like, yeah,
go on, Han. Yeah, well, if you're not getting your kit off, then allow me to put mine back on. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, pretty much what he says, and I'm like, that's a strange line. Okay. The more you should have turned around and gone, oh, all right then.
The more this show goes, the more I'm Team Sith. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fair point.
It's getting worrying the more I'm identifying with him on a daily basis. Like, oh, hang on. Hey, look, if you're not getting your kit off, then I mean,
I'll put mine back on then.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of you've got your hands on my lightsaber jokes here that we could go down, but I feel that we're above this. You know, if he got out of the water, and looked down and gone, "Hello there," then me and you would have been like, "Oh, wait a minute, come on,
hold up."
We copyrighted that move, and that's us not being allowed back to Lucasfilm again for another 10 years.
That's it. Yeah.
Ding dong. So anyway,
it was one of those scenes. Yeah.
he gets out and he just carries on.
So menacing though, like the fact that he is completely stark naked.
Yeah.
And he's just stood there with such the presence of calm and sophistication,
authority. I think it is. It's like, I am the master of my situation and my surroundings. It don't because you could be quite vulnerable in that moment, and like some people, you kept mentioning Game of Thrones, and there's a character in Game of Thrones, the great Khaleesi, and she would, like, at the beginning she'd be stripped off and made naked, and she was vulnerable, and it was awful to watch. It was like really tough, and then that character of Daenerys then kind of went, oh, hang on a minute, when I'm naked, I felt vulnerable and kind of attacked, but basically I have power over every guy staring at me. All of a sudden, like that kind of, like, it changed. Like, there was this scene where she gets up out of a bath naked, meeting these three guys, and they're like, oh, okay, oof. And they're like completely, like, she just gets what she wants, just carries on. It's a total power move. And it's a little bit with this, like, he just gets out, stood there, starkers, like, doesn't matter. I don't feel vulnerable. I don't feel anything. Like, I'm just in control. And like, you're right, it's a real power move, and it's quite intimidating. It's kind of a subtle thing, because obviously you're not getting someone starkers in Star Wars, but you know he is. So
if that was me, right? Can you turn around, please? Please, the water's cold. Turn around, please. It's very cold in here. Turn around, please.
Oh, mate. Yeah, some of us don't have to worry about the temperatures. It's always that. So when he does that, and he just kind of carries on. When they're back in the cave and they're kind of talking, there's an exchange where I'm kind of focusing on them at the moment, and then we'll move on to Sol. There's an exchange where she kind of says to him, like, how do you know this? How do you know that? Were you a Jedi? And he's like, yep. And that threw me. I was like, what? Like,
I didn't expect that. I expected him to be just kind of like, he had force powers, almost like the Witch's Coven, where they had people that were force sensitive, but they weren't going to admit it to anyone, hide them away, teach them their ways. That is what I was expecting. Like, maybe, we joked about the underground, like, powers and stuff. That's where I thought this was going to go. Like, I was raised on the streets in this town, and I realised that I had powers and had to use them to survive, and took me dark. I used to be a Jedi.
Now, he says in this, I was a Jedi a long time ago, and then he really kind of a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
Now, he doesn't look that old, but of course we don't know his kind of species and stuff like that in Star Wars, so we don't know if perhaps he's like someone who
he's older than Yoda. Yeah.
Well, you know, it just seemed odd that he kind of really specified a long time ago, a long time ago. Now it could just be that it's like he's putting that in the emphasis of I am so far from being a Jedi now. You know, could have been 10 years ago, but he's just pointing out that like, yeah, I am so far from that. Like, whoa.
Yeah, but it made me chuckle because like you would have thought. Now, Sol is obviously one of the people that teaches the younglings.
Yeah.
So you would have thought if this guy had been a Jedi Padawan or something at one point, Sol would have recognised him with the helmet off.
So this
he would have been like, "Wait a minute, we trained you," or something like that.
Mate,
and there's none of it. And I'm like,
no, wait. Now think back. Think back to that episode when he's got the helmet on, and he's saying to him something familiar about me. He's like, "Oh yeah," and he even says to him like, "Oh yeah, you know me." We've all taken that as, oh yeah, because they met in that shop. You know, how did he not do this? How did he not sense it? Now, Sol in this episode says like, "Oh, how did I not sense it was him?" Da, da, da. I'm not like Sol. I love Sol from the start, but as this again is going on, I'm starting to think that Sol. I don't know. I'm just starting to wonder. I'm starting to ask myself questions because. Yeah. I like, you know, that whole kind of unreliable narrator thing? Like, we're kind of taking Sol at his word all the time. Like, Sol's telling us the truth. This happened, this happened, this happened, and we know this because Sol told us. And then, as this series is going on, like, we've just finished episode 6, there's 2 left. I'm now, did that happen? Did that happen that way? I mean, we're already really questioning the events of when the fire happened, when the girls and all her family witches got taken out. I mean, we've been questioning that for a few weeks. And it's like, literally next episode, it feels like he's about to talk to May and tell her, you know, well, May, this is what happened.
At least 3 times. Yeah, that was, That
was kind of funny, actually, by the end, because I was like, oh, they're going to end the episode without doing it. I know they are. And because they basically set this episode up as episode 6. I saw a few people like, oh, it's filler. I don't think it was filler, but I do think they kind of, this was a very kind of, last week was, okay, we now need to go, ooh, before we go back up. Like, we need to kind of.
This was the little dip of calm.
Yeah, we just need to calm, do some real character work, like really flesh some stuff out. And then we're gonna go crazy to finish. Yeah. But yeah, I kind of felt like that with Sol, where I'm just not sure with him right now. Like, I got some questions. So when I thought back over that, I was like, oh, do you know what? You could actually interpret that differently. Because when the helmet's removed, he goes, "You." Do you know what I mean? He's like, "It's you." Well, is that because the guy from the shop? Or are you recognizing him from a long time ago? And anyway, so going back to this episode where he's talking about,
really making me think now.
well, it does, and it has done. But he goes back to this, and you see he's got those scars on his back, and he talks about how when his Jedi Master kind of realized that he was using the Force differently, he was channeling these emotions. They threw him away and basically stabbed him tried to kill him, and he survived, and now he's where he's at, and clearly that's
now this is where I was very kind of we see it. So when we see him down by the lake and stuff, we see these scars on his back, and I'm like, my God, he's like, is he whipping himself? Like, is this like one of those
self-flagellation things?
Yeah, like I let him get away, so therefore kind of punishing himself with the whipping or something like that. And then he says about, oh, my master did it before I was thrown away. And I'm like, damn, okay. Yeah. And then we get a scene a bit later on.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think you're about to jump on my theory I wanted to finish on. But
okay.
No, go on if you want to do it now. No, because if you had the same theory, you run with it.
Well, what we'll do then, we'll discuss that when we get to it at the end then, because I think we're both on the same line.
Okay, all right. So there's a lot of dialogue between these two in the cave. We see the Quitosis. There's a rich vein of it on this planet. They actually demonstrate that. He also talks about it. It's good for shorting lightsabers. So kind of fills in last week.
I loved his description of the helmet as well. So
yeah,
last week I was kind of like, how did you do this? Why is he not talking? This week he's like, yeah, what you do, you put the helmet on and it blocks out everything, like those training helmets we used to use. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm getting flashbacks to Luke on the Falcon trying to use the lightsaber for the first time. Like, oh my God, okay. So how he's using it. But then she's like, you can't see anything really out of it. It is purely you are working as you and the Force. And I'm like, oh, that's cool.
It is cool. And he...
Not only is that probably one of the coolest helmets in Star Wars anyway, with the weird teethy things, the Smiler helmet, you now find that out as well, and you're like, oh, that's even cooler now.
There's... No, I like that. I really... Yeah.
Is this bad guy a cooler character than all of the good guys put together? Quite possibly. Yeah.
Well, so now this is the thing I want to put to you, which I find really interesting. And this is what I like. I like things that challenge your perspective. When we watched that animated show, The Clone Wars, there was a lot in that challenged the narrative that all the Jedi were good. And I liked that because there's no way across that many people, all of them were as pure as heart as the ones we called out.
No, we watch a Jedi Knight who's meant to be a hero just send clone troopers to their death. Yeah. And when questioned about it, literally goes, and there's more of you.
Yeah.
You know?
There'll be more of you tomorrow. I don't care. Now, when we come to this and his perspective on things, it's like, well, what do you want? You know, he said in last week, I want to be free. Like, you lot are literally hunting me for being who I am. That's a really unique perspective, isn't it? When you think about it, it's like, you say I can't exist. You know, the Jedi make the rules.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not forcing anyone to do this. I'm not forcing anyone to be this way. I just want to live.
And then he goes on this week. She's like, what do you want? I want the power of two. I want to have an apprentice. That's all he wants. He just wants some company. Yeah. He's lonely. He just wants to be a company. Lonely. Maybe and the Jedi are trying to kill him for it.
Maybe he wants to get a bit freaky deaky, you know. He obviously had a bit of a
Only
thing.
by the lake, obviously. Yeah.
He had a bit of a thing for May. May's run away, so he grabbed her twin sister. I mean, it's a bit of a boss move.
Yeah, fair
But yeah, I like the fact that he is challenged. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that what he's doing is trying to, like, I'm not so easily corrupted, she says. He is trying to, you know, seduce her to the dark side. That is exactly what he's doing. But I'm watching it and I'm like, oh man, I'd have turned by now. I'm fairly confident I would have gone Team Sith like five lines ago. I'm so like, so basically, because another thing he says is like, the Jedi, because remember, like, there was a little thing about, okay, she trained to be a Jedi for so many years, and yet she now can't even do the basic stuff of the Force, like, can't even reach out and grab something. What the hell's going on there? And it's basically like, that's because the Jedi have made it so if you don't, you only access the Force their way, and if you don't keep doing it, you lose it. That's what they've done to you. But your ability with the Force is there. You just need to channel these things. And he's like, you know, underneath the surface, there's these emotions. And you just tap into them. And she's like, that's the path to the dark side. Oh, my God.
No, don't tell me this. Yeah.
So
it's so true. Like, the way he goes, like, you know, you get brainwashed by the Jedi. You either do it what we say, or we'll make you believe that you can't do it at all.
Yeah.
And basically, we put blinkers on you subconsciously that you don't even realise.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if we tell you can't do something enough, then you will never be able to actually do it. So therefore, they teach you from a youngling, you train our way, otherwise you can't use it. Yeah. And all of a sudden now, she's like, well, I can't use it. Oh,
so don't. I mean, I just
and being told now, to now be told, well, of course you can still use the power of the Force. You've just got to tap into your emotions and her to go, ooh. So after the dark side.
What did you think to the moment where she she kind of reacts with anger? He winds her up, and she goes for him with his saber. I didn't think she was ever gonna actually attack him or kill him, because I don't think she has that in her. But do you think that in that moment he really got to her? Like, I couldn't make my mind up, but it kind of felt like when she did that, it kind of almost made her think, oh no, like he's getting to me.
Yes, I really like the dynamic between these two because, like, he pushes her, but he doesn't push her in like an overwhelming sort of way.
No.
It's almost like the whole manipulation side of it again. Like he's just saying things to her to get her to think a certain way.
Yeah.
And then when she kind of strikes out, he has this kind of look on his face of like, see, you've got those emotions in there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm telling you, you can still use the Force if you connect to your emotions. And you're now showing me, see, you have got the emotions are there. Yeah. You could still use the Force sort of thing. And it's like, oh, that's clever.
And it's the way
like, that's clever.
It's the way he puts things forward as well. It's like, oh, you know, May, I thought May wanted what I wanted, you know, and she didn't. She just wanted revenge. She wanted this, that, and the other. You know, all I want, you know, is he's basically almost like, all I want's a family. A nice, quiet life here, have a family, live my life. And there's even, like, it's such a weird thing, but like symbolism. There's these little creatures running around, and it's a little family.
Oh, the elephant chickens things. Yeah.
And they're a little family, and I like the fact they just froze solid. Like, look, we're rocks, keep walking. We're rocks, keep walking. Okay, they're gone. We're good. But that like to me felt like a little bit of symbolism of like, oh, come on, I just just want to live here, be a family, like a little Sith family.
Even see like when we first see the weird elephant chicks. Yeah, it's the one little one kind of exploring on its own.
Yep.
Whilst she is exploring the place on her own.
Yep.
And then after that, we see them together as the little family, together unit.
Yeah.
Whilst he's got, and it's like, that's very subtle.
Symbolism, my friends.
Very good. Very good.
I picked that up. Didn't even do like a GCSE in theatre studies or anything, but I picked that up.
No, that was mine. That was my thing. That was my thing. Yeah. Which is
so,
why continuity does me in so badly.
The final,
Mr. Port.
Yeah. The final part of their kind of story in this, he tries to get her to put the helmet on. He's like, you know, try it on, see what you think, see how you feel when you got it on.
And she is straight up like, nope, don't trust you. Nope, not doing it. No.
And he's just kind of like, all right, whatever, do what you want. And she does then try it on right at the end. And
it's like, it was like he was talking to like a toddler. It's like, you try it. I don't want to. Nah, I knew you wouldn't do it anyway. Yeah. Sort of thing. Knowing full well that as soon as you leave the room, they're going to do it. Yeah. It's like so cleverly done. Like he is such a manipulator, but so damn clever about it.
Yeah, he's very Mendoza. She just the Jags rule. It's actually a pretty cool visual at the end in the helmet, the breathing, her, and then she closes her eyes to sense the Force, and that's the end of the episode.
Yeah, so all you can see is like that little those two tiny little slits of it. Yeah. I'm like, whoa, claustrophobic alert.
Yeah, there might have been a few people watching that freaking out, you know.
Yeah, a little bit.
Having to touch stuff around them. So, Sol is on the ship with Osha / May. Now, we discussed this last week that I said I'm going to be a bit annoyed if Sol, the Jedi Master, who has this great connection with Osha, cannot tell it's not her.
Yeah.
And I was annoyed.
World's worst Jedi.
But then they threw a line in to explain it, and I felt better.
Okay.
So, and it's going to sound silly, but I like the fact they addressed it, because when you leave stuff like that, it can be annoying because you're just like, oh, come on, why wouldn't he friggin' know? Now, if you agree that this is the reason, or you think, oh, no, that's crap, that shouldn't have happened, that's a separate thing. But for me, it's like, okay, so you have thought about this. You have given it your thought of, why would a Jedi Master who trained Osha not be able to sense it's her? And the line that's thrown in to kind of explain it is Sol's like, why didn't I know this guy was this? And May says to him, basically it's like confirmation bias. She says, because you didn't want to see. You were so set on, this is what it is, this is what you want to see. you weren't actually allowing yourself to feel anything else. And she kind of says it to him with a real, almost like a little grin of like, ha 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 ha, ha you sucker. Which is and so I like that. I like that they didn't just leave it in the air. I like that they addressed it. Like I said, if you think that's whatever, that's up to you. But for me, I felt better after they addressed it.
I don't know. For me, it was like the fact that my little sniffer dude.
Yeah.
It seems very much that like it needed my little sniffer dude to kind of tell Sol.
Oh, it did. Yeah.
Before he like tranks her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, dude, come on. Like, I know she's kind of made that thing about how you kind of sense what you wanted to sense almost sort of thing. But I'm like, dude, come on. Not only did you leave your Padawan's body, who apparently meant so much to you, you just left it in the forest to decompose. You didn't notice this was the wrong person. And then I'm like, he's meant to be so powerful and he's just doing all these things. And I'm like,
Well, you say he's meant to be so powerful. This is a character you've known for 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Like, if this was Anakin or Obi-Wan, someone that we've got this real established lore of how powerful they are. Like, we've just talked about how the Jedi of this era, me and you agree, aren't that great.
Yeah,
so
true.
Why are we thinking he's an exception? I think there's an interesting story to him. Like, this is of interest, and I really like... There's a moment where the other Jedi show up to investigate, which we're going to come on to, but there's a line like, the only person who could have done this was Master Sol. He's fallen. And you're kind of like, whoa, that happened fast. Like, hang on a minute. That was like a really quick accusation to be thrown around.
Yeah. Yeah. Did he do this? What?
But at the same time, also, he changes his mind about other Jedi coming. He buggers off by himself. Like, he gets that communication, stay where you are, we're nearly there, and he's like, nope. And
boom, hyperdrive, go. Yeah.
Literally leaves as they show up, They pulled into the same parking space, so if he hadn't left, by the way, that'd have been a crash. Just putting that out there.
Do you know what? I actually thought that. I was like,
they're bloody lucky he left, because otherwise that was going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, they literally turned up on top of where he was. Like, that would have been.
Yeah.
Their transmission receivers are a bit too accurate.
Yeah, that'd have been. Yeah. that'd have been. Carnage.
Where's Sol?
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is, floating past. Sorry.
Whoopsie.
Yeah. Was that May or was that Osha? Who cares? Dead now.
Not worry now.
Yeah. As long as it's past tense, don't care.
Yeah.
So it was, I mean, that was, again, like a little thing that I thought, that's such a dumb thing. Why did you do that? Yeah, so...
It's when we see them walking around the planet, that's what I found very interesting.
Well, we're going to circle to that in the end. I just wanted to focus on Sol. Little Bazil does a great job in this. I mean, he attacks her, which cracked me up. Bazil attacking me. Like,
he was practically humping her leg. Like, he had no attack there at all.
He resets the droid after the droid squirts her in the face. I thought that was mean. And then goes about trying to keep pretending she's Osha. Sol keeps saying, like, we need to talk, and she keeps trying to draw it out of him. And
she wants the truth. And it's like every time he goes to tell her, we're like, here we go. What actually? The powers are gone.
Yeah.
Here we go. He's going to tell her. The power's back. Yeah. Here we go. He's going to tell her. Transmission received. Fuck, just tell her. Just tell her.
Now, Bazil does finally get the Sol and is able to communicate to him some way that, that's not Osha. He stuns her and says, May, Now, from me, this is just my headcanon, that the minute Bazil starts, pointing and sniffing, going crazy, Sol kind of clears his mind a bit and goes, okay.
I like to think the communication was literally, he pointed at May and just face palmed and pointed at Sol. But, duh!
Yeah.
Come on!
Well, I mean, he's obviously done something, again, it's my headcanon, Sol clears his mind and then senses who it really is. So he stuns her, locks her up, and then literally the end of the episode for their story is him basically going, I need to tell you. And I'm like, you bastard.
And you're going to listen to the credits. For fuck's sake, no.
Like, why? That was so cruel.
You teased this the whole episode. You have teased us.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you the truth.
No, I don't watch anime, by the way. It's not my thing at all. But a few people have said in comments that this styling of like building up next week is very anime series. Apparently that's a real kind of a styling choice they've made. I wouldn't know. So if I'm wrong about that, apologies. I'm just going from comments.
I'll check. My sister likes all the anime stuff.
I can. I just that style of animation. I just can't get into it. But yeah, so that was kind of interesting to me. So like you said, we do have the Green Jedi, Master Ro, RWOH. I always say Ro.
Ro. Yeah.
Ro. With that. The Green Lady.
Yes. Scary lady.
She basically gets this notice like, we had a garbled message from Master Sol. And this guy as well, by the way, his character name's Mog. He's a Jedi who, for me, sums up what the Jedi are in this era. He looks like an office administrator. He walks in
we've had
this garbled message from Master Sol, and he seems to indicate there might have been some casualties. Oh, right, who? All of them?
It does seem like all of them.
Yeah.
All he needs is a pair of glasses and a clipboard.
Yeah.
And it's like, there he is. Yeah.
Now she's like, okay, we're going, we're going to go. We put together a team. We got to investigate.
I love the comment about, are you sure you're going to come with us? Because, you do get a little bit nauseous out in deep space.
Yeah.
I do not get sick.
Yeah. That was okay, now that was a weird...
She gets travel sick,
That was a weird throwaway line. That was kind of like, I was kind of like, what? This is like one of the Jedi... she is a character who featured heavily in books and all sorts, in comics as well. And she was kind of beloved in the comics because of her weapon was different to a lightsaber. She had like a kind of Jedi whip kind of thing, which was very cool. And we got to see it in this episode as she takes out one of those bugs. The colour of it I found interesting, just in my mind anyway, but just because of being a ridiculous nerd.
Okay. I'm slightly colourblind, so yeah.
Well, I think it was purple, and apologies.
I was going for like a purpley pink. Yeah, that's fine.
Right, so yeah, okay. Now, what they head out to this planet. They get there. They march off to do their investigations. They find all of the Jedi dead. She does say at one point we need to prepare them for burial, which I like. Prepare them for
Yes, thank you. Yep. At least she cares. Yep.
Man, I don't get that as a criticism. I was
annoyed.
That.
I just thought that Sol's attachment to his Padawan, wouldn't have just left her in the forest.
What do you expect him to do? Like, they've literally got that guy there. Do you give up your life for someone who's already dead?
Well, no, not give up my life, but like they don't exactly go and chase him off either, do they? Like, I'm like,
no, I don't get that. That's like saying like there's bombs landing all around this area. Your mate's body's out there. Oh yeah, I need to walk out into the gunfire to save my already dead friend's body. That doesn't make sense to me. You wait for all of it to die down, then you go back. So surely he would have just, like, he was trying to radio in what's happened. Surely it would have been like, this is what's happened. Send the army,
Send help.
And then they'd gone in and got the bodies back. So I don't get. I saw a lot of people saying that, and I don't get that criticism from me personally. But okay, I mean that's a personal thing, obviously. But with this, they do mention that, which is good because I like that they mention that.
Prepare them for burial, which is like, okay. Yeah.
There is this weird dialogue though around like who could have done this. A Jedi must have fallen because we're seeing like the saber. These have all been killed with lightsabers. So there is no dialogue. There is no belief. There is no even. I read in a book once about red saber wielders called Sith. Could it be that? There's none of that. they don't exist. Like, the Jedi do not even...
purely, rogue Jedi.
It is not even a thing around. Like, when they had that meeting before, it was, perhaps a kind of a cult or a sect. A kind of
rogue cell,
So in their minds, like, this is a thing that could possibly happen. They don't use the word Sith. They don't, it's like not in their vocabulary. It's not a thing.
To them, it is literally just a really pissed off Jedi.
Now, Master Ro.
Yes.
This character's been interesting to me from the start because there's been several instances with Sol where I've wondered, it feels like she's covered something up. It feels like she
knows more than she's letting anyone else know she knows.
Yeah, and she's also keeping this whole situation away from the High Council. You know, she's made that clear several times. Like, this is thing. She sent Sol to this planet with this team to kind of clear this up. No more mess. And then this has happened. There was this scene where her and Sol were talking, and like other Jedi were glancing over, and she looked really nervous, like, "Oh, Sol, keep your mouth shut," sort of thing.
Yeah, really uncomfortable about having to discuss the whole thing.
So, I've interpreted that completely as Sol and that team did something bad with those witches. Like, that went south. And Sol has confessed to her, like, perhaps, I felt anger and just ripped them apart. And she's covered for him. That's how I've interpreted it, right? And like, okay, from now on, you stay here, you train the younglings, you meditate, you don't go out, you don't put yourself in that position again. Then obviously when it's his Padawan, May and stuff, he goes back out, and now he's back in that position. And she's like, oh no, like, what have I done? What have I unleashed?
It's going to happen again.
So that's where my mind's been. But
after this episode...
in this episode, the character now marked as the stranger shows he has these wounds on his back, which you said right away, that looks like a whip.
Yep.
He talks about he had a master. Yeah.
Yep.
He talks about he had a master, threw him away, and then you've got her with that saber. Now, the colour of the lightsabers has always been a bit of a weird thing, and in this particular era, you're seeing sort of goldy sort of colour ones and all sorts. Samuel L. Jackson famously wanted a purple lightsaber because his favourite colour is purple, and he wanted to be able to pick himself out in the battle. It's funny, and that's true.
Yeah. I love that.
George Lucas let him have it, and then created a lore around it. Because that's what George Lucas does. Yeah, that'd be fun. Yes. And now I'll back sell it.
And now I'll tell you why he's done it. Yeah.
And the reason why is Windu was so powerful because he kind of channeled not the dark side, but just he was kind of on that fence. He was a little bit kind of like he's a Jedi, very much a Jedi, but he is channeling a little bit of that. So his lightsaber was purple, and it was just kind of a little thing, and that's why he did it, and it was all back sold, and everyone kind of knew it. So when I saw that whip thing was kind of purple as well, I was like, oh, okay.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, is that a little thing as well? Like, this is someone who's perhaps a little bit on the fence. Add to that his wounds of kind of literally looks like he was whipped.
And then add to it the fact that we think that she's been covering up something, and all of a sudden you start going, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Maybe she does recognise what this is, and she's now going, "Oh, wait a minute."
So I've been doubting Sol. Like I've been thinking Sol is actually going to turn out to be bad in this. I've now kind of done a 180, and I think Sol's maybe even piecing this together himself, and that's why he jumped away from the Jedi coming to help. And I feel like Sol is going to be like hard on himself. He's going to be like, oh, this happened and this happened, and I fell. And when we're going to be watching, we're like, Sol, you're okay. Like you're in your mind, you're like, oh, I did this, it was terrible. You're like, no, they attacked you, man. Like you're fine. Like, yeah, you let yourself in that anger, but then you got back control. So I kind of feel like that's where that's going. I could be completely wrong, by the way. Like, literally next week, he could be like, I murdered babies. Like, I'm like, oh, damn it, Sol. Like, yeah. And I liked it. Oh, for God's sake, Anakin,
Stop talking.
Yeah. And then, like, no one knows this, but once a month a youngling vanishes, and it's me. It's like,
I choose the weakest.
Yeah, everyone thinks they run away, but I just kill the ginger ones. Yeah. Like, so that could happen next week, and I could be like, oh, damn it, Sol. I was wrong about you again. But to me, it feels like he's going to, like, do this big confession, and it's going to be like, Sol, that's it? That's what you're so stressed out about? Come on, man. Anakin used to, like, literally straight up murder people. It's like, you're fine.
And you're a bit upset about the fact that you think you could have saved more people.
Yeah.
God damn it, Sol.
Anakin, in an animated series, literally put a saber to a guy's head and ignited it. It's fine.
He did.
Yeah, he did. That was good. I loved that scene.
That was such a scene.
And Obi-Wan, Anakin? He's like, what?
He told us what we needed. I got rid of him. That's why.
I loved that scene so much. It was the Obi-Wan's like, Anakin, you can't do that. It's like, what? He was in the way. He wasn't going to surrender. Like, oh, yeah, anyway. I
love it, yeah.
It was basically watching the Clone Wars. It was like, I love Anakin. this guy.
That's the problem. That was the problem with the Clone Wars, is by the time the Clone Wars finished, you loved Anakin so much. You're like, I'm now going to watch the third film and hope he makes a different decision.
Yeah. Every time I watch it, it's like, don't do that. Don't go in there. Literally shouting at it. Don't listen to him, Anakin. This time, make a better choice. It's like, seriously, if they ever made a what if series for Star Wars, that'd be like the most watched episode. Cause it all like really cathartic, just him making a different choice. They were just, oh, I needed to see that. Oh my God, I needed to see that just once. And like, they all lived happily ever after. Thank you.
Anakin and Obi-Wan led the galaxy to safety.
Have you ever seen that meme, right? So Mace Windu's got the Emperor. The Emperor's like foresight, and Mace Windu's getting on top, forcing it back to him. And the Emperor's going, Anakin, and he's like, don't do it, Anakin. And at that moment, obviously, he makes the choice to chop off Windu's hand. Yeah. And then there's this meme where Windu goes, Anakin, if you stay by my side, you can have anything you want. Okay, I'd like permission to stay in the Jedi Order and marry Padme Amidala and her to have excellent healthcare. That's very specific, but okay. And then Anakin chops off the Emperor's head.
Yeah.
I love that. Just like, give me a what if episode where that happens. Anakin raises the kids. Everything's good. Uncle Obi. Everyone's happy. The Jedi Order adjusts itself. Like, do you know what? Actually, love and attachment is allowed. It'd be fine.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah,
this is nice, anyway, shake that off.
Tangent.
Massive tangent. So, I think next week we're going to get Sol kind of confessing this, and it's not going to be that bad. And May's going to be like, well, I remember this. And he's like, yeah, you're like that mum, like she literally attacked me. I was asleep. Like the guy who's got the scar, he's going to be like she literally like nearly killed him, and I had to stop her. Something. I think
she possessed his mind and tried to get him to kill us, so I had to stop it or something.
Oh, that's good. That is good. Yeah, I like that. I like that idea. So
it's been one of those thoughts I've had. I'm like, there must have been something that happened to cause what happened. Knowing that she had the power to possess people, I'm like, I wonder if she tried, possessed him and tried to kill the Jedi with the Jedi.
I think Master Ro is now going to be tracking Sol. Sol, as we know, is tracking Osha, trying to locate him. I think we're going to have a situation where Master Ro is actually a big bad in this series. And I think this series is going to end, and this is just me going out on a tangent, with Master Ro killing Sol, killing May, killing Osha, and killing the Stranger. I think this series is going to end
covering the whole thing up.
With literally her covering the whole thing up. And that's how this series is going to end. Which would be freaking dark, by the way. But I just think that this is going to get completely locked away. And you're almost like the final scenes are arriving back. Like, oh yeah, so many Jedi, but we got to the bottom of it. It was this rogue sect of witches, but we're taking them out. It's fine. Back to normal, everybody. Okay.
And the critics will be like, that was amazing. Or, what was the point of that series?
Yeah.
It'll be the divide.
See, to me in this, like, I like telling stories in this era. And
yes, it's a new era for us. I love it. Yeah,
the showrunner for this has said, like, this series will end definitively. We'd love the opportunity to do more, and we've got loads of stories and ideas from the books, the legends, and stuff that we can do. So I like the idea that it's like, okay, we're
one and done series, but different stories.
You could explore different aspects, different things, because we're basically saying, like, the Sith. Everybody, this is the thing as well. It's like everybody know that line in the Phantom Menace, the Sith have been dead for a millennia. No, they weren't. And we all know that. Anyone who's like a massive Star Wars fan who's read the books and everything knows that they were just in the background.
They were just hiding.
I mean, literally, as the guy says that, you've got Palpatine like almost in the next room, like, you lot are supposed to be the most powerful people in the galaxy, and you don't even detect me. We're like slagging off Sol, not knowing that that's May. Yoda had meetings with the Sith Lord every day.
It's a very fair point. That's such a good point.
Yoda
was crap.
Yeah, see? Yoda, the greatest Jedi in the galaxy.
Your inbox is about to go insane for that line.
But it's true. Like, Yoda just would walk in and have sit-down brunches with this guy for years. Not just once or twice. Every week.
Happily talking about what things were happening.
Yeah. Oh, what's going on? Oh, good. Yeah. How's the Jedi? Oh, good. How's things in the Senate? Oh, lovely. More tea? Oh, thank you. They were besties.
And he didn't sense it once.
All of the Jedi that we regard as the greatest Jedi to ever live, Yoda, Windu,
we're all surprised.
Obi-Wan, we're all like, oh no. He's the Dark Lord. They're like, Anakin, he literally told him. Anakin didn't know. He was sat next to him at the theatre, telling him, I ever told you the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise. It's like, no, it's not a story you learn from a Jedi. The guy's like basically telling Sith stories to you, and you're still like, who is this guy? It's not until he tells you who he is. So for us to slag off Sol for confusing twins... I think it's
what, Sol?
It's a bit hard. It's a bit harsh.
Yeah, I take it back, Sol. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's so true. Oh, mate, we have either just made some real fans or some real enemies.
Every damn day. That's my life.
Yeah.
I either make friends or enemies.
Yeah, the Jedi were crap.
But they weren't. This is my point. Stefan believes the Jedi were crap. I'm pointing out that there was a certain element of confirmation bias.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was really good at hiding his abilities or something. Yeah.
Mate, that is all my notes. Do you have anything else?
No, I think we're good. I think yeah.
So, massive thank you to everybody for listening, like always. We will be back next week with the penultimate episode, which is episode 7. There is no word yet on if this show will continue beyond season 1. Given the ridiculous level of hate towards it, I'm guessing they'll probably leave it. Disney and Lucasfilm tend to not be very brave with their decisions like that nowadays. I'm a little bit disappointed if that's the case. I mean, I want to see them stick the landing, and providing they stick the landing, I'd love to see them get an opportunity to tell more stories. But
see, I quite like the idea now of one season and done. Tell a story, start to finish.
Yeah,
and then choose another character or another story, same sort of era.
Yeah,
but just tell us all these little stories, like one-off seasons.
Well, let's say
these different stories.
Let's say my mad theory is right, and Master Rowe kills everyone and covers this up. Master Rowe could be in the next series. Do you know what I mean? And we'd all be like, there. And again, and you'd have that aspect of no one knows what she is, but we know.
Yeah.
Here's another. Right, let me just throw this one thing at you, okay? Master Rowe appears in various comics, various literations, and always has hair. That character always. Now, you could look at this and go just a different era, age, etc., or turning to the dark side alters your appearance.
She lost the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could that be a thing? I don't know. We got to wrap this up. We need to wrap this up. So, big thank you to everybody. As always, if you've got a theory yourself, you just want to chat about it, you can get in touch with us via email, sam@stuffandthangspodcast.com. The website's there for a full catalogue of all of our shows. You can find us on all the socials, and you can also join us on Discord, where we've got various channels and chats where you can just join in and go through all of the shows that we talk about, see if there's any there that strike your interest, and obviously the Acolyte. You can dive into the conversation there. All the links will be in the podcast description. Until next week, everybody, you all take care.
And may the Force be with you.
The Jedi teach there's only one way to access the Force. And if you don't do it their way, it fades. But there is another way. Below the surface of consciousness are powerful emotions. Anger, fear, loss, desire.
That's the path to the dark side.
Semantics.
Thank you for listening to the Stuff and Things podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. You can find us on Facebook or online. Simply search the Stuff and Things podcast to join in our conversation every week.